If it was the store manager, it would be Ed, and he's involved with scouts. That's my school. Yeah.
And this is 77.
Usually directing people.
Almost set, Roger.
All set. Can get them signed up.
It's that time.
I'm going to bring this town council meeting to order for June 7th, 2016. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jody.
Counselor Albert,
Here.
Counselor Colby. Here. Counselor Ward,
Here.
Counselor Mativier,
Yeah.
Counselor Bickford,
Here.
Counselor Crafts,
Here.
and Counselor Brunel.
Here.
Next item.
Good news and recognition.
I've got something. Memorial Day. 6 o'clock in the morning, pouring rain. We lose our water. But it's no avail. Chris and Larry are on the job. They worked all day, well, not all day, all morning in the pouring rain, digging a gigantic hole with the help of the local contractor. And cut a piece of main, put it in, and we were at probably, what would you say, Chris, 5 hours?
6 hours.
6 hours
Time we started.
without water, but it was,
6 hours.
very-
Would've gone faster, but
well, that's pretty fast when the hole, it was a hammer in the main, and it blew the top of the main right out. And I just want to thank them for doing what they did on Memorial Day in pouring rain. I know it's supposedly what you do, but
that's it. That's the way they pay us.
I want to thank you very
We'll
much.
show up no matter what.
Anybody else?
Next item.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Dot, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I've got 2 or 3 things. First, I'd like to congratulate the graduating class of 2016 on their graduation. And I'd also like to give thanks to Superintendent Green and the school committee. This is the first time we've had a graduation in town in many, many years. And thanks to them. Also, I'd like to especially congratulate my grandson, Nick Ridley, who gave a speech at the class assembly. A very caring and thoughtful young man. He helped take care of his grandfather and his dad in their for years and in their last days. Very caring young man. Memorial Day, I'm glad you brought that up. Did anyone know that there was a mini parade on Memorial Day? I looked out my kitchen window over the kitchen sink, and there was, I think it was a camouflage Jeep with 4 boys sitting on the front of it, all holding American flags, and there were 3 or 4 servicemen that were marching behind them, carrying a big American flag. I don't know where it started, but with no police escort or anything, and 2 or 3 cars in back of them, they went by my place at 6 School Street and were heading up on Route 196. And that was, I think, the most touching thing that I have ever seen. It was really, really, like I said, it was very touching. LJAL held their yearly carnival a few Saturdays ago, and I have a roster here of the coaches and the players. We are so fortunate here in town to have such caring people. There are 35 coaches, and LJAL, 252 kids involved in playing baseball this year. There were 5 fields, and all of them were busy all day, 2 teams playing from 10 a.m. to, well, my great-granddaughter had a game at 5:30 under the lights, and I think there was another game after that. So good news and recognition. I just want to recognize them. We have an amazing number of people here. These coaches all give of their time to coach all of these teams and all of these kids. Deserves recognition.
You got it.
I got something. So I think since we last met, we've had the Lisbon Greyhounds track team won the MVCs in track, so that was fantastic. And then they went on to states, and they represented us quite well. I think individually, I think Bree Sauter was a state champion, first place, and I think it was 400. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think Nick Harriman was 3,200 meters. It was a pretty long race. So I think they should be recognized. And on that team, Coach Hall and all the other coaches as well, every year consistently, they're always in the hunt at the end of the year getting it done. So kudos to them.
Council will be recognizing them at the next meeting. I've been working on that
Excellent.
this week.
Okay, next item, Jody?
There are no public hearings, so we will move to audience participation and response for agenda items.
Fern LaRochelle, Lisbon Falls, Main Street, representing Positive Change Lisbon. There is a couple articles tonight as far as for orders for us to use in town property and for a mass gathering permit. Just want to thank you for the opportunity to bring that forward. We have a great concert venue this year. It's going to be pretty good for Sunday evenings. Some other events coming up. I'm working on some good stuff this year, so we do appreciate the opportunity. One thing I know the council was supporting us on is the potential at one of the events actually doing a beer garden. This year, unfortunately, things aren't coming together to make this happen, but we do appreciate your efforts on moving that forward, and at least there's a seed planted that in the future we can keep working on that and see if we can pull it together. There is quite a bit involved. We just want to make sure if we do it right. So, again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Next item?
Consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have an item removed may do so now. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered next.
I'd like to have a motion so we can do A through D all in one vote. This is just routine, so,
And second.
okay. I guess all in favor?
I didn't hear it first, but.
I'll make the motion. Yes, you did. It was just late.
You're right. You didn't hear it first. I'll second.
I know it's just not me.
What's that?
Yep.
Okay, next item.
Council orders, resolutions, and ordinances.
On page 22 of your agenda packet, we are proposing 2 amendments to the policy regarding town-owned property, the use of town-owned property. The first amendment is number F. That's going to be an addition to the policy. We currently we require insurance requirements if somebody wants to use town-owned property, but it was not in the policy, so we've added that language. And the second one is under A, alcoholic beverages. And we just want that to mirror what the council changed in the parks ordinance. Since the parks ordinance has been updated, we decided that we needed to update this policy as well. So we use the same language. So those are the 2 amendments to the policy.
I need a motion to,
I'll make that motion. Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Order 2016-126, request to use town-owned property for Positive Change Lisbon.
Their application's on page 25.
Yep. The MTM building, okay. Park, building, Beaver Park, downtown Lisbon Falls sidewalks. I need a motion.
Motion that we accept.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Order 2016, number 127, renewal itinerant vendor mass gathering permit for Positive Change Lisbon.
And Twyla's memo is on page 27. Everything is in order for this permit.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Order 2016, number 128, request to bid projects, road striping, salt, public works, cab and chassis, and snow guards.
Things were going, I didn't know if I'd even have to get up. So the title really is self-explanatory. We're just coming here to get permission to start the bidding process for these items that will all be out of next year's budget, so they will all be contingent upon final budget adoption, but the process can take some time, so I'd like to get started in all these. The road salt one is, we purchase our salt through basically a group purchase with Abcog. We've done it every year for I don't know how long. And those bids actually, or our estimated quantities need to be turned in tomorrow to be included with the bid. So that's why we're trying to get this done right now. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's any questions on any specific items, but they're pretty much all next year budget items, and just want to get started.
Just one quick question.
Yep.
About salt, just because I know we had a pretty mild winter, so lower than expected.
We estimate usually, actually, when they put out the document, if I recall, I didn't print it, but I'm going from memory, so don't hold me to it. But
Sure.
I believe it was, we estimate around 2,500 tons a year, and I think last year we used 1,600. And then, but the year before that, we used over the 2,500. So we were less last year, but we still use a significant amount.
Thank you.
So there, go. So the old salt that was left over is obviously still good.
Yep, it's the stuff, I mean, last year, one of the things that, and I don't remember if we did it last year based on the way things went, but we tried to fill the barn at the end of the year, just so that way we were buying on this year, but I don't.
Price.
I think it's fairly full, but we didn't actually have them haul in anymore to top it off this year.
There is a line item in the budget for the snow guards?
It would have to come under buildings, repair and maintenance.
That's what I was asking, I don't
Yep.
remember. Was that part of what you submitted when we talked originally, or was that
No,
something that came in
this
after?
came on after, I'll give you a little bit more history on the roof itself.
Yep.
We put out a bid for the roof for an asphalt shingle roof. And
Right.
all we did was ask for a bid alternate for a metal roof, never expecting we would get, quite frankly, never expecting we would get a bid that we could afford. So we didn't prepare a RFP that was as detailed as we would have if we had done it for a specific metal roof. So the snow guards were not included items as part of the actual roof that they installed. So we need to purchase them in addition. They went around and gave us a ballpark, and it was right around $8,000 to add all the snow guards based on the length of the roof, the areas that we wanted to protect, and yada, yada, yada. They're basically, it's priced on a per-foot basis. It's something that can be installed after the fact at any point. And once we got those prices, we did ask around to see how, from a price per foot standpoint, if it was competitive. And it was competitive, but it was still higher than some of the numbers that we'd heard. So that's why we said,
Put it out to
when you
bid.
guys are done, then we'll, as long as there's no, real negative point to coming back, going through the bid process and so on and so forth, then that's what we needed to do. And on top of that, we were approaching the cap from a single contract sort of standpoint.
Right.
So.
Right. How was the roofing vendor to work with once they got started?
To be honest, I thought they
That
were,
was the caveat, you heard.
to be honest, I think that they were great. And from what I understand, I mean, we went into a contract with someone who just ended up subbing out the work anyway.
Right.
And the sub that he ended up getting was not the one that we originally thought we were going to get. And turns out the one that we got was actually, from what I gather based on our conversations, was probably a better
Choice.
alternative than who was his original selection. So the fact that we got the roof done by I mean, I think a company that did a very good job, all in all, was, I think it worked out well for us.
He had very good, very polite personnel working for him, too.
They did, considering the work that they had to do, stripping the roof, and, I mean, there was some odds and ends here and there, but for the most part, the mess they contained very well, cleaned up after themselves very well. We've got a couple things that could, touch up afterwards, but we plan to pressure wash the building at some point anyway, so.
Right.
But no, I think all in all, I mean, from the bad situation to where we ended up, I think we're much further ahead than even if we'd gone with the asphalt roof, so. Glad it worked out the way it did, even though we're not 100% done.
Okay. Now, background, are you seeing any hardship associated with an $8,000 expenditure in that line item?
There'll be one item, the sacrificial lamb in my mind is gonna be, we had originally anticipated budgeting to insulate the hose tower at the Lisbon Falls Fire
Right.
Company. That, to me, is gonna be,
A
that may
push.
be the one that ends up, I mean, because the garage doors, he's got garage doors that he's been asking for years that are an item that we, you know, it's just the way it seems to work. The library waited, and now the fire department's waited, now it's their turn, and it's, you know, so on and so forth,
Right.
so.
I did revise the budget. I added more money to it, so
Even better.
we're not gonna have to worry about that, because that really needs to get done as well.
It would be beneficial based on the
Yep.
amount of oil that.
Well,
does consume.
that's kind of where I was coming at it from, is the fact is I remember the shopping list that got you through the spring associated with that, trying to push stuff into this year with the soft winter, with the intention of getting to some of that wish list
Yeah.
that's been stockpiling. I don't want to,
I put in,
Theme
I
on that.
put in additional 10,000, which will cover the roof guards, but I also wanna look overhead, especially in the police department where we had the leaks. I wanna
Right.
see what that looks like, because we may have to replace some of the insulation up there.
right.
Now that it's done, we need to deal with that to see what we have to fix, especially over Harry's office or in that corner. So,
Fair enough. That's what I need to hear. Thank you.
Need a motion.
Absolutely.
Need a second? Second. All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item.
Order 2016, number 129, chipper purchase.
Either bound for failure or bound for success, I guess, with this. But, we originally were hoping to purchase a used chipper in hopefully the $15,000 to $20,000 range. That's proved to be pretty difficult in this area. We did, one of the mechanics and I did take a trip to New Hampshire and look at a chipper that was there for sale. It was used, running around $12,000. And it was, I mean, it was a landscape company that was getting rid of it. It was used. Hammond Tractor, or Hammond Equipment, they say our Hammond Tractor, that one's Hammond Tractor. Hammond Tractor is the website that I had been looking at before we even developed the budget. They're the ones that had a used chipper on there for right around the $12,000 mark, which is why it kind of shot for a $15,000 budget. They listed a used one, and it turns out it's actually a leftover, or it was a demo unit that they have now been able to resell as technically new. It's a 2012 chipper, but they're asking $32,000. And based on all the research we've done, this is probably our best alternative to buy a chipper, or we need to just bite the bullet, come back and ask for more of a new price amount to do a chipper purchase, because even when you're talking, I mean, it seems small, $12,000, $15,000, but really don't want to buy something that's going to put us in a behind the eight ball moving forward. This is essentially a new machine for about $6,000, $7,000 cheaper than you'd buy it new, but it's way more than we originally talked about. So,
Is it
whatever
warranted?
your pleasure.
Is it warranted?
Warranted for 5 years. Strange. The frame is only warranted for a year, I believe, is what they said, but the rest of it's warranted for 5 years. So I guess they're afraid we're going to beat on it, but.
Well, it's one of these things I've been an advocate for it for
Quite a while.
quite a while. You know, when you're hauling small loads of brush, and when you could be,
Yep.
you know,
Through
and
town,
it's something
downtime.
even up at the transfer station, they were talking, there's something there that if we haul the chips up, we might be able to sell them to the locals.
It'll be easier, I mean, quite honestly, maybe even easier for us to just take and sit there and run the brush pile through the chipper and
Right.
whatnot. I mean, it gives us some flexibility and gives us some
Right.
options.
Was the one that you went and looked at in New Hampshire that was just no
I mean,
good?
it was, for a for backyard farmer, it would have been great, but for,
It was not a
you know, for
commercial.
someone that's running it as a, you know, for our situation, and
Right,
especially.
So it was a small one then.
No, it was big, it was, but it was, I mean, it was.
It's tired.
And it was, but it was old technology, and it was, you know,
Can't
it
get
wasn't
parts
as
for
user,
it.
it wasn't as user-friendly as a newer model, but, I mean, it is, I mean, it reflects that in the price as well, so.
Right.
So let me understand, you're saying in this that there was $37,300 left over from the budget, and you're requesting an additional $25,155 to cover these 3 projects?
Yeah, we had 37,300 left in winter public works, and then we anticipate in excess of the $25,000 in, we'll call it regular public works budget, and that's strictly based on position that we never filled basically for the entire time it was supposed to be at public works, between those wages and benefits and everything else. The culverts that we purchased ended up being a little less than we originally thought. The ground speed controls ended up being a little bit more, but all in all, I mean, if we wipe out the balance that's in the winter public works, we still need to take $25,000 from someplace, and feel that the public works budget can handle that, but, I mean, in reality, it's more than likely gonna be from, you know, savings from wages and benefits.
So to buy this chipper, how much are you asking for? Extra?
The invoice we received was $31,990, or the quote was $31,999. Particularly, we're just asking to, if it's the pleasure of the board to go ahead with this purchase, then you know, the idea would be that Diane and Ed would
Make it work.
make it work, yeah, yes.
How much are you spending to rent a chipper?
I can't remember offhand, it's a couple $1,000 a year, give or
Still
take.
a lot of time and-
Plus
But you're
labor.
but the problem is that we're
Right.
wasting the time. Some of the times, I mean, we may rent it for a week, but it may only we may only actually use it for 8 to 10 hours out of that week, depending on where we get pulled from here and there, because you make the appointment to go get it and rent it, and then you get it here, and then invariably something else happens. That's why it's one of those things that we've experimented with from a rental standpoint, but in the long haul, I think it's a better investment for us if we own one.
If you got a brush pile at the transfer station, you're not renting a chipper to chip it, you're hauling it.
Right.
How long would it last?
Depending
Ballpark.
on how, I mean, the one that we looked at was 2003, 2002, something around there. I mean, they'll,
15,
if it's
20
taken care
years.
of, it'll last 10, 15 years.
15, 20 years.
It's one of those items, though, that, I mean, it all depends on what the guys stuff through it, so.
Well, I need a motion.
It's coming from this year's funds. Knowing that what we talked about originally, it was on the list. It's a little more pricey than we would have liked, but I'll make that motion.
So it's not coming, I just want to make sure before we do this, I want to understand it. So it's not coming from this year's funds, though?
This
okay?
year's funds.
We're taking a portion of this year's funds, and then the rest of it's
Not
going
all
on.
This year's funds.
All this year, we're just going to find a way to make it work?
Yeah.
All right, that's fine, thank you.
So there is enough money to do this
He's
out of
got-
this year's?
Yeah.
And that's what I needed to hear.
Second?
We will absolutely make
Now
sure
we- now
before we
we'll
purchase
discuss.
it.
Formalities.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said we'll absolutely make sure before we purchase it.
Yep.
And this is all, I mean, we went and looked at this May 24th, so I mean, if it's still there, it's there. If it's not, then we'll talk about chippers again.
Right.
It'll take some time, but it'll eventually
Yeah.
pay for itself.
Yeah. And there will be convenience.
Mm-hmm.
And if it lasts for 15 years.
15,
it's
exactly.
$2,000 a year.
15.
$2,000 a year, you have it here all year long.
Yeah.
So you can utilize it more than what you would regularly, you know.
Yeah, you're
The
bound,
other, it's the other, and it's, I mean, available for other
Hey, get
departments.
you're bound by the budget when you're renting it, too. Right.
Nobody's gas driving to go get it, none
Right.
of that bullshit added into it.
Right.
And ready, set?
Okay, need a vote? All in favor?
Thank you.
Secondary
Hello?
question, related to the topic.
Yep.
Stuff at the transfer station, how do you dispose of it now?
Currently, it's loaded and hauled to MB Bark, I believe.
Have
We
you
don't
con-
pay to dispose of it, but we have our time.
Have you considered going through affordable well drilling and actually renting their tub grinder to actually manufacture your own mulch? Lewiston does it, and it's highly lucrative.
Right, we have not, and part of it is that I'm not sure how large an area
The stage,
that they stage in
yeah, and
Lewiston
that's, you're right, that's where you're gonna be bound by with what we
I
have for
did look
space.
into that, and we don't, remember when we first started, way
Right.
back when? And, I did look into it, and because Affordable was doing, my nephew, we were hauling it at one time down to Goddard's,
Right,
and he was doing it down there, well, he didn't wanna do it anymore.
okay.
So we started, but I'd asked Affordable if he could come in, we didn't have enough area.
Okay, that would be, it's not about the grinder, that's the cheapest part of it.
Correct.
It's just the staging.
And we
That's
needed,
why
I mean,
was-
we looked at the possibility of relocating it down, locating them, stockpiling at the old landfill, and then having someone come in and do that at a later date, and then the processes to go through to get the permits to do that, and then we're still trucking it, and
Right.
we're not paying any tipping fee right now. It was,
No, I get it, it's not new business is what I'm hearing, so
Yeah.
that's all I was asking.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ryan.
Okay, so that order passed 7-0.
Correct.
Next item. Order 2016, number 130, schedule public hearing date for Time Warner contract renewal.
We finally worked out the details for the renewal contract for Time Warner Cable, and now we just need to set a public hearing on June 21st, and Dan Stockford will be here to answer questions and present the changes.
With Time Warner being purchased by Charter, they're still obligated regardless? Okay, just want to
Yeah,
ask that
yeah, we had
question.
started the process before they did it.
Figured as much, but I wanted to
Yeah.
get, ask that question.
Okay.
So you just need to you need a motion to set the public hearing for
Need a-
June
need a motion?
21st.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Second. To set the public hearing for June 21st. All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Order 2016, number 131, Parks and Recreation golf cart purchase.
Got a lot of questions for you.
Ready. Yeah, so this proposal is for the Parks and Recreation Department to purchase a golf cart to be used in Beaver Park to make rounds every day. And I'm ready for your questions, actually.
For one thing, I've had golf carts. They're not, I don't think they'd be suitable for Beaver Park. For the same amount of money, you could buy a UTV, which is a side-by-side, four-wheel drive, with a dump body on it. For the same, I used one for the same amount of money. And I think it would be, you could do more, you could haul a little trailer behind it, you can do a lot of stuff with it. And I think that would be much more, you're doing a good job with Beaver Park. I'd hate to see you buy a piece of equipment that's not gonna do the job.
Yeah, somebody mentioned the side-by-side to me
Right.
as well with a all-wheel drive.
Right.
But I've been looking for donations for golf carts for the last year, and, some of them would, almost look like it was gonna happen. I get a free one to use just to, keep on the park trail, on the park road.
Well,
But,
I'm just saying, if you're gonna spend $5,000, I think, or up to $5,000, you can buy a pretty decent one, used one. The smaller ones, it's not and then the smaller ones are the workhorses.
I know that Diane checked the insurance on the golf cart. I'm not sure if you
No, I've sent, I don't think it'll be an issue, but I have sent a request
Okay,
to see what we need to do, if there's anything special.
okay.
I would, I don't mind letting you use the money, or
Is the
whatever.
intention just to keep it on Beaver Park property?
That's the intention. I mean, there might be special occasions where we load it up on a trailer and bring it to an event where we're gonna need to use.
UTV, I'm thinking Pine Woods with the issue, policing that as well with the vandalism that you just recently experienced.
Right.
What's that?
The blue light for it,
Get your green light.
green light.
Yes, but it didn't do us any good associated with the vandalism you just experienced either,
Right,
too.
That's true.
And that was where I was going with that. And the other part, too, is a UTV actually would be suitable for along the riverfront trail as well. Something you actually could put on that trailer and actually move around periodically to suit whatever purpose you're doing. That's the only reason I was thinking so today.
You know, I've had golf carts, and I know their capabilities and their limitations, and I know what the UTVs can do. And you're talking, on a scale of 1, the golf carts are 10, and the other one's a 1. It's
I'm not
You
really
just want something
familiar
to
with,
transport yourself to here and there, then a golf cart's fine, but if you're gonna use it to work, then
well, I was looking,
probably
they have golf carts that are all-wheel drive. They're not like the UTVs, but they have dump bodies. They're more landscaping trailers, but they're golf carts. You see them
like,
on
can you
the,
buy one of them cheap?
well, I've seen them anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000.
That like that.
I
If
mean,
it's all-wheel drive with a dump body, that's fine. It's an off-road vehicle.
Mhm.
But I'm looking at a golf cart as a golf cart.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it would work to where you want. I think you ought to study trying to get either one of them, the all-wheel drive with a dump bed or
Right.
whatever.
Mhm.
And you gotta figure too, like if you bought a Polaris, a used Polaris or a Yamaha or whatever, you've got a top dealer right in Topsom
that's true, yeah.
that services them and
Yeah.
treats everybody very well. He's one of the top in New England.
Mhm.
So I'm just, I know because that's where I buy my parts, and
Yeah.
our club buys off of him, and he's been outstanding.
Yeah, oh, I like the suggestion. I like it a lot.
I would, like I said, I don't mind you using them up to that kind of money, but I think you ought to get the most for them.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I think it would
argument
be
here.
a lot better for Beaver Park,
Mhm.
unless you're gonna put a golf course in. You know, then.
Well, we're not planning on doing that.
Would generate revenue.
Maybe disc.
Disc golf.
Disc, maybe. It's a disc, maybe.
Yeah, disc golf, yeah, okay.
It's easy money. Any other questions?
All kinds of new business propositions.
So I think
So do you
that's-
need
I think
Yeah, let's
we
do a
oughta-
motion,
we'll do a motion to, let you spend $5,000?
up to 5,000.
Up to 5,000,
Okay.
and then you.
That'll fit your needs.
Yeah,
what
okay.
you need.
Great.
Okay, I need a motion.
Before we do that, it's coming out of this year's budget, right?
It's coming out of this year's parks budget.
Okay.
Now, do you modify that to a UTV, or would you give him discretion for what he?
It's his
I would-
discretion.
I
I
would
would
mo-
leave
Yeah.
it to him.
Yeah, leave it to you, but I
Okay,
would,
that wasn't what I was hearing, that's why I was.
What is the most suitable for your needs there at Beaver Park? And I'm sure we'll hear back from you
Do
when you
your
find
homework,
something.
Your
whatever you
your
think will
discretion.
work
Okay.
Best for you.
first time it breaks and it's not working, I'll be the first, I'll be the
Okay.
biggest screamer.
Okay,
Because I've seen them both in action.
Right.
Know what's what.
I made that motion.
I'll
Yeah,
second.
Chris made that, okay, there it is.
All in favor?
First and second.
Who seconded?
Mark.
I missed.
second, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mark.
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Order 2016, number 132. Request council approval to apply for fiscal year 16 HSGP funds.
Good evening. You received the memo on the Homeland Security grant, and just quickly for the audience that's here for an understanding, under Homeland Security grant program, there's two categories. There's a law enforcement category, and then there's an all-other category. And the all-other category includes your school departments, your EMAs, your fires, your public works, hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. In Androscoggin County, there's over 60 all-other entities that are eligible to apply for these funds. Most generally, 3 or 4 may apply. Historically, that's been on average. There's almost $62,000 available this year for the all-other. So depending on how many apply, depends on how the funds are allocated out of that category. On the law enforcement side, it's a fixed amount. There's only so many law enforcement agencies, and it's been predetermined by the county EMA director that law enforcement, other than Lewiston Auburn, because they get their own pool of money, will split $4,660 this year. Our plan being for the town, and Lisa Ward, our town EMA director will further explain this. Our plan is twofold. Tonight, we need permission from the council to go ahead and make application, but there's two applications. There's a law enforcement application and there's the all other application. On the law enforcement side, I will be indicating in the application that our plan A is to divert our $4,660 over to the EMA plan, which she will again be explaining to you shortly. However, I also need to have a plan B in that same application if that is not approved at the county or state level, or the funds are not available for the other plan. I need to have a plan B, and the plan B would be to add additional exterior surveillance cameras to this facility to enhance those that are already there, to cover some of the areas that our system just doesn't cover right now. And that would be the entrance to the parking lot, the exit from the parking lot, the second half of the east parking lot, and a good portion of this parking lot over here. That's 3 cameras. That's stretching it with those cameras, but we're going to do the best we can. And so that's the plan B. If the plan A doesn't get passed through the process, we'll go to plan B. And plan B may not pass either, but we just need to get these applications in. They have to be in by Friday. That's our timeline. So I'll pass it on to Lisbon EMA Director Lisa Ward.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for having us tonight. Chief Brooks already explained the 2016 Homeland Security Grant Proposal application process for you. Just for a little more background, the County EMA Director, equally dividing that allocation, we have $4,660 and change for the EMA, the EMS, the fire department, the public works, and the police. So what we did in talking with the different departments, and then I reached out to Rick Green at the school department, because we would like to move forward with putting a shelter at the high school and turning that gym into a multi-purpose facility in that sense. All the other departments were very supportive in that for us. When I contacted Superintendent Green, I also made sure that I CC'd members of the Facilities Committee to make sure that everybody was in the loop, or as many as I knew about. And Mr. Green provided me with the electrical engineer's contact information from the construction. So in researching this project, I also spoke with, in addition to Steve Markowicz, who is that engineer, I also spoke with Ryan Canteras from Scott Simons Architects, and he worked with the architectural firm who helped design the gym. So altogether, I then also spoke with the folks over at Enterprise Electric here in Lisbon. I know I have to get a bottom line on how much this is going to cost. I had, in my conversations, I heard numbers like $750,000, and I heard numbers like $25,000. So I'm still waiting for a little bit of information from some of those people. I have to give the county EMA director 3 bids from electricians. Those electricians, I don't have all the information I need for them yet, but Steve Markowicz and Ryan Canteras have both been emailing me since I spoke with them very consistently, and they're very interested in making sure that they help us move this forward. One of the things I battled at first is that I don't know anything about electrical engineering. So I spoke with all of those people to make sure that I could get a good sense of what needs to be done, what other towns do, and what would work best for us in our situation. And it's really been a huge advantage that our gym is so new. I found out that there was originally a stationary generator platform planned for the area where it would be best suited at the high school. But that plan didn't work out because of other considerations in terms of how much space has to be left around other kinds of equipment that's out there. There's already a lot of equipment on the roof of the gym. We could put it a little more remote from the gym, and there are environmental considerations when it comes to that. I've already reached out to Keith Ano, who's our former director, and gotten the information I need from him to do that environmental project. So it sounds like it's been a lot of homework, and it has, but I feel good about the information that I've gotten. The bottom line is we need to put a conduit in, run electrical lines, we need a generator, and if it's a stationary generator, we need a concrete platform. The equipment alone would cost about $35,000 for that. But I understood from the multiple people I spoke with that we could probably find a way to get it for less. So with everybody working together, we could get, with all the departments working together, I think we could get up to a little over $18,000. The key is that we have 3 years to spend the money if we get the grant. So if I apply for the maximum amount of money and then look for more grants, or more matching grants, this one's not a matching grant, or other opportunities, we can do this. I also spoke with both the electrical engineer and Kevin over at Enterprise Electric about breaking the project into pieces. The best advice that both of them gave me was not to break it up too much, because you want to make sure that you make the most of package deals. So if we break it up too much, we would end up spending so much more money in the long run that it wouldn't be worth it. So as Chief pointed out already, we need to turn in our final application on Friday. So I finished getting some information together. I printed one version out, and it looked like my email didn't go through, so I'll re-email it to Diane so that you guys can have a copy of it. It's basically, I just gave you guys a Reader's Digest version of what this is in terms of the numbers and everything. I just want to make sure that council has the opportunity to know about the application. I mean, it could be that we don't get it, but if we do, there's an added advantage. A lot of other towns, because there's always such a short window of opportunity to apply for these grants. I found out a couple of days before my vacation that the grant deadline was going to be 4 days after my vacation. So I got the ball rolling right away, but so many people don't do anything. So after all the grants applications are received, and they go through them all, and they sift through them and take out the ones they don't want, if we're still in that, yes, they can do this list. If there's additional money left over from other towns who have departments who aren't using their money, it goes back into a pool, and we can ask for more money. So we could look at anywhere from around 14,000 to 18 plus at the first round. And then at the second round, anywhere from 4 to 10,000, and that's all ballpark, because it all depends on how many people do it. So I just think it's a great opportunity. I don't, I wish I would have had a little bit more time to do the groundwork, but every single person I spoke with was on board with getting the ball rolling, because they really like the idea. And in fact, Ryan Canteras from Scott Simons Architects was really excited about the opportunity for us. And when I spoke with Steve, the electrical engineer, he told me that there was already a spot in the electrical room to put a transfer switch. Has to be an automatic one, but they already built part of this plan into building the gym when it came to the electrical part. So I think it's a good opportunity. The things I'm waiting to hear on have to do with power loads. I know that what we put into there is under 300 kilowatts with other electrical stuff I don't feel like memorizing today. But I have all my notes with me, so if people wanted more detail, I definitely can do that for you. I just took a ton of notes while I was talking. Here it is. It's under a 300 amp volt load at 480 volts, and it's three-phase. So that doesn't mean as much to me as the fact that the electrical load could include lighting the gym, heating the gym, and receptacles for more electrical stuff that needs to be in a shelter. So those guys did a good job making sure that I could take that technical information and turn it into practical information for us. But, so if you guys have more information, that you'd like to know about, if I don't have it with me tonight, I can definitely get the information within the next 24 hours. I also have, I spoke with Joanne Potvin, the director of the county EMA. She's willing to look over the paperwork to make sure that our I's and T's are dotted and crossed before we turn it in, so that it doesn't get denied just because we did the paperwork incorrectly. I'll be bringing that to her tomorrow evening so that she has as much time as possible before Friday, which is Friday at 4 o'clock is the deadline, and I didn't want to do a Friday at noon kind of thing to her. So like I said, the performance period is 3 years, so we have some from September 1st of 2016 till August 31st of 2019 to do the work if we're accepted. The application's due Friday at 4. The review committee will look at everything sometime during the June 16th to 24th period, and we would find out if we definitely get the money by September. Questions?
You said that this was a no matching funds grant.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Stop.
Very quickly, she did talk about the additional funding, how the supplemental funds work, and I brought these to you before. They're always 3 years old, meaning that the supplemental application period we'll be seeing coming up sometime after June 30th will be FY13 Homeland Security monies.
Those funds that
because
last.
they should have been spent by
Right.
this fiscal year. So whatever's left over from the FY13 program rolls over into a supplemental program, goes back out for
Right.
application. So you're not, and it is a 3-year window, so you have an opportunity here to get in on the ground floor with this. There may be no work done. The money may have to be put into a special account for this project, but because it's a 3-year period, you'll have the fiscal year, not only the 16, the 17, and the 18 that can all be applied for, and you'll have the opportunity for the supplementals over that same period. So if the process continues the way it has, I'm not going to say it will because the federal government changes rules too. There's probably a minimum of 6 Homeland Security grants that may become available in small amounts, but you can build them up over time to get the project completed.
Yeah, as long as we stay on top of it, we make sure that we're the ones who apply for it. A lot of towns don't apply for it because they think they only have $4,660 or that sort of thing. But when I met with the director, the county director, and I told her that, one of our focus projects here in Lisbon was to get a shelter started, so that we can say we have a good shelter. We've had warming shelters and so forth, but not an actual shelter before. That's the primary concern, and that was when she suggested that we talk with the other departments that get allocated grant opportunities, and some towns have been able to pool their money and do really big projects, even though there's a small amount of money available to each department each year. Again, taking advantage of that 3-year window and the unapplied funds. So I think it's a really good opportunity. Doesn't guarantee anything, but today we just need the go-ahead from council.
So it's a 2-category grant. So if the police department gets a portion and then the other departments get a portion, you can pool those 2 together?
We're not sure. I met with Chief Brooks about this because it was my impression that we weren't allowed to use the police department's allocation for anything except police department related things. But in reading through the paperwork, Chief Brooks and I agreed that we thought there might be the opportunity to do that. And if there was, it would give the town an overall better opportunity to get more money at once. If we can, that would put, that would put police, fire, EMS, EMA, and possibly, I didn't have a chance to talk with Ryan. Were you planning to apply for any grant funding? Yeah. So I would be able to use that too, so that would add another almost $5,000 to that opportunity. But again, I apologize that I found out right before I left for vacation. I did as much as I could before and after, but again, it's a really, really good opportunity. Not many towns take advantage of the opportunity to pool funds. And so if we can, if the EMA allows us to use the police funding, that's why Chief Brooks has two plans. So, so that his money won't go to waste, so.
Now, if you don't use it, is there a penalty? Is it like a use it or lose it?
No, if you don't, yeah, if it's use it or lose it, and if you don't apply for it, you don't have any options. So, if you don't put in an application, you can't say, hey, we didn't use our 4660 last year, can we use it now? No, you have to ask for it before the deadline.
I don't see a downside of actually at least pursuing this. The downside that I see is if we come closer to the $750,000 that you originally mentioned.
That won't happen. I asked about what that would entail, and that was, one of the original ideas was, and this is really a best-case scenario. So a best-case scenario would be that we provided the conduit and electrical lines and emergency generator opportunity to power the entire high school, so that we could make use of the rest of the facility as well as the gym.
Right.
That's that $750,000 mark.
So you feel confident closer to the 60 is what you're talking?
Right, right. I also looked at and have not totally discarded the option of a moving generator, like a generator that's portable. But sometimes there are drawbacks to that. I have to talk more with the electrical engineer before I know more about the pros and cons between the two. I do know that there's definitely a downside to have, although there's a huge upside to having a stationary generator, there are huge downsides to it too, including about 87 pages of paperwork. But if that's what we need, then that's what we'll do. I know that my predecessor did an EHP, which is an environmental impact study. You have to show the EPA that you're not going to make an impact on the environment around the area where the generator's going to go. So fortunately, the work he did for the last project that he did covers a 2 to 5 mile radius, and so I can actually use a lot of the work that he already did and not reinvent that wheel. So it's more doable than it sounds. Even though it's a lot of work, it's going to be less than it would have been.
Sounds like a great opportunity in that regard. If we could potentially use it to get that need done in the community for a third of the cost off, even if we had to invest the other 40 grand, I feel personally it would be foolish to discourage somebody with as much enthusiasm as you on the topic.
Believe me, my vacation mates were not as happy about it.
I'm sure.
I need a motion, or I'd like to have a motion.
I'll give her a motion.
I
Second?
got the second.
All in favor?
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Thank you. Come on, Chris, you'll do anything to make me stop talking. I'll give you this copy that I had. If people want to take a look at it, I'll email it.
All right. Order
Want one
pass.
for both?
Yes, absolutely. Proceed just the way you presented it, Chief.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Order pass 7-0.
Wow. Next item?
Order 2016, number 133, Coastal Humane Society contract renewal.
Yes, we're now on a fiscal year to match our budget, so this is the annual renewal for the Coastal Humane Society contract. The price hasn't changed, it's the same as this current year, fiscal year. And on page 42 of your packet, at the top of the page, number 5, that's the only difference in the contract compared to what we have in place right now. It's just talking about they make every effort to promote trap, neuter, and return for feral cats. and that we agree to work with them and the community to permit and encourage TNR, which I think is good. So that's the only thing. Doesn't obligate us, it just says that we will work with them to do that.
So if we have a whole herd of cats wandering around by the Old Lisbon Schoolhouse,
Yeah, let them
saying
know.
that
They might be able to
they
come
could
and trap them, yeah.
they would trap them, neuter them, and then return them back to that spot.
I don't know the whole procedure on that, but I don't.
Want to understand that a little bit better, that's
Yeah.
all.
Need a motion to accept? Make that motion. Need a second?
Still trying to process what you had to say.
I know,
I
right?
know, right?
I'm looking at TNR, I'm like, okay.
All in favor?
7-0, order passed.
Next item?
Other business, A, town manager's report.
I just have a few things to report. We're working right now on the sewer and tax liens. We sent out 30-day notices, and next week we'll be recording liens. We're also working on year-end. I'm working with Ed, trying to get all our accounts reconciled and get ready for the munis. You know, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but between the two of us, we're working on it. And today I was in court for the first time for Lisbon for small claims cases for personal property tax. I started out with, I've got 11 claims to begin with, and I ended up with only 4 going to court today. So we're making progress on the small claims. Plus I do have payment arrangements on some of them, but we're making progress, and that's all I have to report.
Next item, Jody?
Item B, Davis Street sidewalk update.
Good evening again. Was asked to just give a brief update on the sidewalk on Davis Street. We evaluated a number of different alternatives with Oliver Associates, along with the original plan from Woodard and Kern that went with the Androscoggin River Trail. And the best, most cost-effective solution was for us to, and quite frankly, we've already started it, was to, we're saw cutting the existing edge of the road. Basically, we picked a point that made sense. Excavating basically a 5.5 foot wide strip, installing new gravel, and then we'll go back and pave in basically a strip. And we're going to call it a walkway, because it's not really a sidewalk, but it's not really the road. We will then demarcate it with either painting just a line, or we may add some other symbology depending on what the MUTCD manual tells us to use. But just wanted to, I know it was an item that's been up for discussion several different times for different groups, and just wanted everybody to know that we have started on that, and the plan is to get that done as soon as possible, get it paved in, and this includes going the entire length of Davis Street, crossing over Davis Street from one side to the next, before you get to the Miller's Variety Complex, and then crossing, we'll install the pedestrian flashing lights like we have at the school that DOT gave us a couple of years ago now, and we'll cross right there at the intersection of Union Street, and kind of, because Davis Street and Union Street don't line up, we'll be coming around the corner on 196 a little bit so we can get a straight shot across 196, which was important to make sure we were perpendicular to the road. And basically it goes across right where there's a concrete median that people drive over anyway, but technically if you got traffic going on 196, is a place if they had to stop, that they would have some sort of a protection. It's not much protection, but it may make them feel better. But that's the plan. We've started it, and hopefully we'll have it done in the next couple weeks.
Okay, good.
Ooh, that's all. Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah, we'll try.
I'm just glad you started it. I don't have any questions.
Oh,
That's it.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item?
Item C, investments update.
Good evening. Ed Karas, Finance Director. Our investments continue to grow. We've enjoyed about as good an interest rate in the market as you can get right now. As you can see, current yield and percentage ranges across the board from about 0.24% up to 0.78%. We continue to add cash to our investment portfolio. We had added in the reserve from the fire department. This last week, I had worked with PTC, and we have taken all of our loan funds and gathered them up into a single loan pool, and have now invested the cash balances that we have in a longer-term instruments, leaving some amount of money for economic development that we can call upon. But we were earning very little interest at Androscoggin, so a better scheme for the town, scheme in the sense of schematic, is to invest the funds with Portland Trust. Also this last week, worked with their representative, Jim McLeod, and have now, since this document was printed, gone into a true laddering of the investments, and I've left us $250,000 in extremely short term, rolling over every month to 90 days, and then took increments of $80,000, and I've laddered out all the way to about 2019. This is to, again, increase our investment earnings with the cash that typically we have on hand. Depending upon how our revenues come in and status of fund balance and the plans that you folks have for any use of fund balance, I would recommend that we try to move another couple $100,000 into longer-term investment vehicles. So,
Time frame on that, Ed? Time frame on the moving that, the audit, or before?
I think probably I will do it before. You know, I'll have a
Idea where you're at?
idea of where we're at, and probably we'll wait until late August, once the commitment is done, because we do get pretty short through the summer. I will be investing the money that we had earmarked for capital reserve. That's just taking it out of one CD, putting it in another, and changing the designation from unassigned to, reserve for capital construction.
Thank you.
So I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Our investment earnings are coming in pretty good. Rather than going through all the accruals I did last year, I'll have online statements as to where we are with everything. So on June 30th, I'll be making the accrual for all of the interest, and from what I can see, our interest in all of our accounts will come in on budget or better.
Right on.
Any questions? Cool. Okay.
Good job, Ed.
All good news, thank you.
Revenues? Next item?
Munis.
Item D, Munis update.
Oh, Munis update, okay. Well, we're working. Things are progressing. I had my first status call this morning with the project manager. I think we're on target, still a couple of days ahead, working hard to stay ahead, to bank some hours just in case we run into some problems. I'm finding that the way they do the project is they come in, they tutor you and say goodbye and call you next week, and I think that's going to be to the benefit of the town, because once I get the GL and chart of accounts, which tonight will be finished with the major portion of that, and then the strategy will be tying it out on the do-tos, do-froms, and some of the interactions. Our Our liaison for the chart of accounts will be here on Thursday. We'll do a check-in. If everything looks good, I'll start the projects. Things are going to look different.
Sure.
I think hopefully, once I get approval for the chart from Diane and it meets Munis's muster, I'll try to give you guys a crosswalk as to what it is now and what you'll probably see in the future. But I will say the project's progressing, and I think we'll make our first milestone for the 21st, when we'll actually sit down. I'll have Brenda Martin with me, and we will begin mapping out the accounts payable process. And on accounts payable, we're going to try to do as much electronic business as possible to cut down on the number of checks that we issue. So at that point, I'll pull in the bank and we'll go forward. So by the end of July, I'm hoping that we have chart of accounts, accounts payable, accounts receivable.
It's a good start. And then the next wave will be payroll, probably towards the January timeframe, or later.
If we're successful
later,
in
right.
converting over on the GL at the end of September, and success for me is going to be chart of accounts in good shape, payables, receivables, and fixed assets. The next wave will be cash and payroll, and hopefully payroll will be ready to cut over after the W-2s.
Right, time frame for that, yeah, exactly.
So, but we'll see. We'll see. Everything's going too good right now.
Are you doing the treasury fund?
Yes, we are.
First time I'd seen it is through Munis. I love it. It actually minimizes a lot of the hurdles in the cash reconciliation, believe it or not. I like it.
Yeah, there'll be a treasury fund for every fund. I mean, it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really, really
No, it
swift.
works nice. It's because truly it's the only one you're chasing when you're looking for cash.
And it's great that the thing drills down instead of expands horizontally. You know, it's good.
Yeah, right. The limitations associated with it we're at with Trio right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's it on where we are with Munis to date.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Stay right there, Ed. I think you're on the next one, too.
Item E, revenue update through May.
Through May. Well, May is come and gone. We are better than budget at this point. Leading the pack again. Hard to believe, but motor vehicle revenues, I think we'll finish about 100,000 ahead. Right now, I think today I was pointing out to Diane that we were about 63, 64 up. I have to temper this by saying even though we will finish ahead, okay, what we're earning with our excise taxes will help us in the areas that we are falling short, specifically in public safety, where we have the loss of the SRO revenue and some of the issues that we faced with the dispatch. So don't get your checkbook out yet, but we will finish in good shape.
Ed, right there, refresh my memory, what's the domestic sewer revenue? What's the drop there? That's almost 100 grand.
I think that'll pick up when we do we're getting ready to do another billing, right?
I think one of the billings was a little bit late.
Yeah.
maybe.
So just timing.
Yeah, it's just a
It's
timing
of the
issue.
billing.
And it was great, because what I liked about this is the fact that you're only 30 days out from it, but you get an idea of where you're going to be at the end of the year. What was the other one in, the social services billed on their revenue based on what we bill them? Because that one seemed down too.
The general assistance.
General
you mean?
assistance.
It's not as, don't get me wrong, it's $10,700, guys. It's not a lot of money. It's just,
You know, the
it caught my attention.
reimbursements are kind of flaky on that.
Is that what it is?
You know, this year we caught up with last year in middle of the year. So A lot of it is just timing,
Okay,
okay?
okay. That's first time I really had a snapshot to just look at revenues by themselves, and it was
Right.
just, you got almost a year's worth of data right there, okay. Knowing that we're coming into budget, does it have any impact for that? And I'm not hearing that. That's the only reason I was asking the question. Thank you.
And on the general assistance side, we haven't spent,
I assumed it was tied to spending, exactly.
right,
Yeah.
spending hasn't been that bad, and we still have a good portion left over, and because your revenues is based on your expenditure. So if you're not getting the revenue in, you're not
You can't
spending
have
the
one or
money.
the other, right, right. That's what
They fall together.
that's what I assumed too. Thank you, Ed.
You're very welcome. Next item, Jody?
Audience participation in response to new items.
I should have brought this up earlier, and I didn't think of it, but snow guards. You come to the taxpayers for money to do a project, the metal roofing on the building, and then you come back to us for additional funds for snow guards. This needs to stop. If there's a project, it needs to be checked out and budgeted for, instead of coming back to the taxpayers for additional money. This happens over and over and over again. We did a bond for the river trail, and then that came in over budget, you come for more money. And then you decide you want a sidewalk on Davis Street, so come back to the town for more money. I don't know about a lot of other people, but I do not have deep pockets. I don't know how many people do, but I know there are a lot of us that do not have deep pockets. These things need to be better thought out, and when you do a project, you need to be thorough.
Thank you, Doc.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna say anything. Next.
Okay. Next item?
Order number 2016, number 134, Renewal Assessment Review Board. 2 members, Cavender and Hale.
Is that Marie Hill? Is that Marie Hill?
Yep.
And Clyde?
Cavender.
We have to vote on all of them individually, or can we just do it all at?
Yeah.
You guys can change that
Yeah.
if you want, yep.
Do them all at once.
All one time?
Rockstar made the
I need a
motion.
motion to,
She's your first.
I'll make it.
hey, you gonna make the motion?
Yep.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order 7-0 passed.
Approve them all.
Next item.
Except that Fellows guy, can't do him. He left.
He's gone.
Except for him, yeah, because he stepped out. What the heck was up with that? Don left.
Can we have a redo?
Right, he doesn't get renewed then, 'cause he
Yeah,
left.
yeah. Ed cleared him out. Shouldn't take it
Next
personal,
item.
though.
Council Communications.
Public hearing on the municipal budget next meeting, 21st. Voting same night. A lot of moving parts associated with this, a lot of personal information. By all means, if you have an opinion, show up.
When do you vote for the school?
That is
Tuesday.
Tuesday. That was my
Okay,
next note.
there you go.
And exactly
Be there.
right. To
Be there. Both.
the chair's point here, he has expressed through this entire process that we need 7 counselors to actually be in agreement on the school to be able to pass a referendum the first time through. That we need to start that campaign to make that happen next Tuesday. Get out and
Tuesday,
vote.
please be
At
there.
the high school, new
A
location.
new location, absolutely, yes.
The high school.
Thank you for reminding me.
Next item.
I got one for communications, right?
You still got a communication?
I still got a
Okay,
communication.
go ahead.
Mine's more of just a recognition of, I had the good fortune on Saturday to go and see a good friend of mine's father. He turned 90 years old. His name's Arnold Booker, and he's lived in this town all of his life. And he worked for, yeah. And so Arnold turned 90, and Arnold's done a lot of good things for this community and for a lot of the people in this community. And so I think it's important to recognize somebody like that. And there's a guy who served in the Pacific when he was, I think 17, maybe even younger when he got in there. Served on a boat over there, came back here, started up a real successful business, and has done a lot of good things. So I just think it's important to recognize people who have done good things and have served this country. So happy birthday, Arnold.
Happy birthday. It was a joy working for you. And it was, too. Next item?
There's no executive session?
I need a motion to
Session?
adjourn.
I'll make them. I'll second.
All in favor? Night, everybody.
8:15, nice job.
A and, so, you say, Yes, incredible. Yeah, I like it to death, but somebody better turn that microphone off.
Have the envelope in my office, and then
Oh, man. That ruined my buzz.
we'll fill out a permit. They have a permit. So, a copy of this.
An hour and 15 minutes. At least
20 minutes above.
These are all hot, camera's still